Hello, everybody, and welcome to Tottenham.
No.
Come on, let's do Tottenham.
We can talk about West Ham a bit, mate.
Tottenham.
We, do the pod. We know that you're buzzing this morning, mate. And you are allowed to be.
Madness yesterday. It was a madness. Hello, listeners, and welcome to Planet FPL. We're talking about COVID returnees.
Isolation, potential issues. So this is the people's poll. We are going to talk about West Ham a little bit.
To be honest with you, I mean, it's players going off for international duty after game week 3, before game week 4, which is the international window, is one thing. I mean, players domestically are picking up COVID at Arsenal, left, right, and centre anyway. So there is obviously issues around that you have to be aware of. This is a people's poll.
It is.
My name's Suj.
My name is James. There were 3 topics.
Yes.
Put up for vote, and I must say I was surprised that this one won the vote. So it was game week 3 captaincy, which I thought would win the vote because it's wide open this week. Well, until Mikel Antonio blew the door open last night, and I think a lot of us are probably going that way this weekend. Now, we'll obviously talk about that on other shows in the build up to the weekend. Problem assets. I think we went through a few of them yesterday in terms of like Luca Dean might be bothering you, for example.
Schmickas now, what happens with him, and so on and so on.
But the winner of the vote was game week 4, isolation issues.
Yeah, I'm not surprised it won, and I'll tell you why. Prior to you putting it as an option in the poll, it hadn't even come into my mind. I hadn't even thought, I'm going to have a problem in game week 4 with any players that are going on international duty. Hadn't even thought about it. And I think the majority of FPL managers didn't even think about it. We probably work off the assumption that these guys would get exemptions or 5-star treatment and blag it and not have to live like the rest of us. So I think that's why it has won the vote, is because a lot of people are like, I have no idea who in my squad could be going anywhere, doing anything. I better worry about it.
So the situation is at the moment that if you go to, and it's obviously not just footballers, if you go to a red zone, then you have to go to a hotel on return for 10 days and isolate.
Yeah.
And it's kind of non-negotiable at the moment. Now,
I haven't checked.
If a footballer goes,
pay for this hotel, by the way?
No. You got to pay for it yourself. I mean, in the case of footballers, obviously the clubs would pay for it, right?
Yeah.
You presume, or unless the clubs went, if you want to go, you can fucking pay for it. Mind you, most of them can probably afford it. To be fair, but who wants to be doing that? So it's caused a lot of concern in terms of if players are going to certain places and they come back, not only potentially missing game week 4, but depending on when they arrive back, possibly missing game week 5 as well.
Right.
That's one concern. There's another one we'll come on to as well. So I think the place to kind of start with this is that the British and Irish Lions recently had a tour in South Africa.
They did.
No exemption on return. They all had to quarantine.
Okay.
So why should what happens in rugby, why should it be foregone in football just because it's the Premier League? And
I get that. The difference being there's probably 20 or 30 people in that squad. We're potentially talking about 100 players could be going to different parts of the world, if not more. I'm sure there's even players in the championship that will be travelling places. But the question then is, how many are going to red zones versus green zones and amber zones?
Potentially a lot.
Exactly. So if you're talking about, like, the British and Irish Lions was one team coming back, and then I don't even know if the rugby season was ongoing, that the players had to get back to their clubs, or whether it was off season. I feel like it's more likely to be off season. So it doesn't affect domestic competition, whereas this would in a big way.
To cut the kind of long story short of who's a potential issue, basically, as far as I can see, and I have to credit Fantasy Football Scout for an article they did over the weekend, it only looks like South Americans are a major issue because basically every country in South America currently is on the red list.
Okay.
And there are a number of countries in Africa. As far as I can see, for example, Heung-min Son wouldn't be an issue. I can't see any Asian players from their list that looks like it's going to be an issue. Now, it doesn't mean it won't change. And one thing that's really important for those who are spunking their early transfers and whatnots is the UK government are going to update their red list, or their green, amber and red list, the what's okay, the what's you should be cautious, and the what's the basically don't go there. Either tomorrow, Wednesday, or on Thursday.
Right.
So this week we will get an updated list, and it could be that absolutely nothing changes, but it could be a few of these, perhaps potentially the odd African country might get moved off the red list. I find it unlikely that, considering every country in South America is currently on that red list, that area is going to change. There's also a further issue with South American players potentially, and that is that an extra date has been added to the calendar for fixtures in South America to complete World Cup qualifiers at the end of this round of matches, and also the round of matches in October. It might be November as well. I think it's possibly not in November. But basically, there's going to be World Cup qualifiers in South America taking place on the Thursday, which actually, UK time, to give you an example, Brazil will be playing Peru at 1:30 in the morning on Friday.
Oh, wow.
So, for example, is Rafinha going to play against Liverpool on the Sunday?
Is Firmino going to play for Liverpool?
Here's the interesting thing. So, Liverpool have gone early. They have said Alisson, Fabinho and Firmino will not be allowed to take part in Brazil. They're not allowed to go.
For the whole thing?
They're not allowed to go. They've come out, they've gone early, said they're not allowed to go.
Wow.
In the case of
Can
most...
they do that?
Well... It's an interesting one, right?
Because if they get called up, like if a player got called up for England, and the club said, "No, you're not going."
But if you're a resident of
Giggsy in Wales, and Alex Ferguson is a classic, isn't he? You would never let the players go.
If you're a resident of the UK, which all these people are, and really the advice is don't go to these countries, you've probably got to adhere to it, haven't you? And also, very interestingly, in Brazil's case,
right? So Liverpool are using COVID as the reason for not letting their players go.
Of course.
Of course. Okay, in that sense, I think they'll get away with it. But had there been no situation, if they were trying to say that players going to Germany or whatever couldn't go, then they wouldn't get away with it.
No,
understood.
It's those three Brazilian players. What's interesting, I think, possibly about the Brazilian players as well is, so we haven't heard anything yet on, say, Richarlison, for example.
Yeah.
Is Brazil would storm in the group. They've won all 6 games. Right. I think top 4 go through and 5th go into a playoff. And all the South American teams, all 10 of them, they play each other home and away. Brazil have won their first 6. They're 6 points clear of Argentina in second. Argentina's is a little bit more dubious. Brazil can probably get away with it. They look like they're going to piss qualification anyway. Let's be honest, Brazil and Argentina always qualify anyway.
Yeah.
I know there's been a number of times over the years we've gone, oh, they might not get... They always get there.
Yeah.
They always get there. So it might be in Brazil's case, they're looking at it's less of a problem. Perhaps for the Argentinian players, think of people like Emi Martinez, Christian Romero, Giovanni Lo Celso, there's some others where they're probably needed a little bit more. So the fact that Liverpool have gone early tells me that we have to read between the lines that there's a possibility here that these exemptions are not going to be given, which is going to cause chaos. And it might be in that case that then no one goes. But if you think of South America now, what do we say about Brazil and Argentina? All their players play in Europe. So what, is no one going to go and play for them?
Yeah.
Difficult one. You can't postpone the games. When do you play them?
No.
There's nothing to say this won't be the same situation in 2 months, 3 months. We're getting closer and closer to winter.
Yep.
You would think, if anything, it's probably safer now than
October, November.
Throwing it into, we know there's extra period for internationals next January, which I believe there are South American fixtures booked in for then as well, right? So the games have got to get played. Do you just play it then with
domestic players or?
There was a lot of people who believed the Copa America shouldn't have happened. It was originally meant to be in Colombia, and then it was going to get shared with Argentina, but then they couldn't have fans, and then it got moved to Brazil anyway, and they couldn't have fans, and Brazil was just as big as a problem as Colombia, and there was a lot of people who believed that tournament shouldn't go ahead. So has the precedent been set that because Liverpool have come out and said, no, the player's not going to go, that the others will follow? And we don't have the information right now. On Mo Salah, this is a complicated one. So Mo Salah's also not allowed to go and play for Egypt, but he is. Basically, he's not allowed to go to Egypt.
Right.
So Egypt's final qualifier is in Gabon. Now, currently, Gabon's on the green list.
Right.
Egypt's on the red list. So what they're saying is Salah can't go and play in Egypt, but if he goes direct to Gabon, he can play the away game.
Right, okay.
Exactly. It's getting a little bit confusing already. So Mo Salah could go and play in Gabon, but he
What
won't
day
play in
is
Egypt.
the game in Gabon? Is that
I don't think
late?
that's an issue. And
No.
Liverpool, in terms of game week 4, Leeds and Liverpool is on the Sunday. Everton and Burnley is on the Monday. Everything else is the Saturday.
Right.
Chelsea and Villa is the 5:30 game. The reason why I highlight that is I think in the case of Emi Martinez, is it impossible that he could play at 12:30 in the morning on Friday and then play at 5:30 in the evening on the Saturday for Villa?
It's not impossible. It's very
because he's a
difficult.
goalkeeper, it's probably a possibility if
Yeah.
he goes that he could play. But anybody else, they're not playing.
No.
Forget the COVID thing. If they go, I mean, Richarlison's one because the game's not till Monday. Actually, ironically, considering
Could be
how much he's
okay.
been playing, well, he would be fine. Friday to Monday.
Assuming he didn't have to quarantine.
But even in the
if
case
he had
of...
to quarantine, there's no chance he'd play.
No, of
Yeah.
course not. But if they had an exemption.
Yeah.
In the case of Rafinha, even that, the game being on the Sunday, he's been called up for Brazil. It's the first time. He's going to want to go and play, isn't he?
Yeah, sure.
Right? Is he going to play against Liverpool on a Sunday? When they're playing at 1:30 on Friday morning? It's got to be extremely unlikely, isn't it?
Yeah, difficult.
And so all them players playing on the Saturday, surely they're not going to play. So you've got Emi Buendia, another one, Argentina. McAllister, Alzati, Caicedo at Brighton. Thiago Silva at Chelsea. Richarlison, Yerry Mina is Colombian. James Rodriguez will probably leave. Jesus and Edison at Manchester City. Fred, Edison Cavani, Miguel Almiron. Romero, Lo Celso, Davinson Sanchez of Tottenham, who's obviously playing at the moment. People keep saying to me, which 4.5? Well, at the moment, not Davinson Sanchez. Tottenham could have a big problem defensively in game week 4.
Yeah.
They play Palace. That's the 12:30 game. So it could be no Romero, no Davinson Sanchez.
Right, you got Eric Dyer and Joe Rodon.
We've got Eric Dyer and, yeah. Well, Joe Rodon's injured at the moment. I don't know if he'd be back by then. I guess he'd play Tanganga at centre-back and... Oh, not Matt Doherty. That's another podcast. And Sierralta at Watford's another one. Those are the players that are going to potentially be the main problem because of these South American internationals. Even if they get the exemption and are allowed to
Come back.
skip the quarantine,
Yeah.
there still has to be serious doubts on them players if they're going to play in game week 4.
What about Africa?
Well, there's a few more. So Mwepu at Brighton and Tau. Helder Costa at Leeds, obviously not playing. The only European one I find might be an issue is Kagla Siyuncu of Leicester. Yeah, I think that's a potential issue.
He didn't turn up last night, so don't miss him much.
He did. It was a great pass for Antonio.
Antonio tore him one yesterday too.
Patson Daka at Leicester is another potential issue. Artur Masuaku of West Ham.
Yeah.
And importantly, right at the beginning of the fixture swing, Raul Jimenez of Mexico could be an issue as well.
What about that's European people? Oh, sorry, that's all the
Jimenez Mexican. So it's whether.
But did you include all the African players there?
Yeah, I mean those are the ones
What
that
about,
I got this from Fantasy Football Scout.
Ben Rama, because he's going to Algeria. Or is Algeria green?
So
Or are they not playing?
Ben Rama's an iffy one. Antonio would be a problem. Jamaica, I checked, is on the red list.
Yeah.
This article was done before I think it became clear that Antonio was probably going to get called up for West Ham.
Right.
So, yeah.
For Jamaica.
So, Antonio, Ben Rama, everyone's steaming into them. Yes, they do have a great fixture this week. As it stands, they would be doubtful for game week 4. Is Antonio suddenly, he's finally
Southampton.
decided he's going to play for Jamaica, a little bit like in Rafinha's case. Is he suddenly going to decide he doesn't want to go?
Mad.
Well, he's broke the record now. He don't give a fuck no more,
he
does
doesn't.
he? He's got his
He's got the
cardboard cut
monkey off
out.
his back. He needs to get to 270 goals now.
Maybe he could send the cardboard cut out to Jamaica instead.
Oh dear.
So yes, I think anyone going to Caribbean is potentially going to be an issue. Most of them on the
But
red
I think
list.
we'd probably then put our foot down and say don't go, kind of thing.
Well, that's what could happen here. Is that everyone goes, like as I said, Liverpool have set the precedent by saying the Brazilians are not going to go. Does everybody follow suit? And it's just, I think it's all going to come out in the next couple of days. It's why we keep saying another reason. Hold on with your transfer and stuff. I mean, one player's not listed on here is like Vis Bissouma. So I presume whether he's Mali, I believe, whether he's meant to play is obviously not going to be an issue. Well, that's good because you might bloody need him in game week 4 if he's on your bench the way it's
true.
going, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, like as we said yesterday, the people who are wildcarding now, you need to be so conscious of what you're doing with this. You might be walking into a big problem. And it's very conceivable that people right now with a wild carding probably will be going Antonio, Benrahma, won't they?
Yeah, of course.
And Mo Salah. I mean, Salah's probably going to be okay for game week 4, I guess. You'd be interested in Rafinha, wouldn't you, with their fixture swing in game week 5. They've got a good fixture this weekend as well. You have to be so careful with this. It really could cause some issues. How do we feel about it?
Take the rough with the smooth. To be honest with you, from an FPL point of view, I mean, even last night, I'm so not caring about FPL right now in my head. So not caring about it. But get through game week 3, and I've got a deep enough bench, I think, that I'll be okay. Looking at the way my squad's set up, I don't think I'll have a problem with my goalkeeper in Sanchez. That's not going to be an issue. I'm not going to have any defensive issues necessarily. Luka Dean ain't going nowhere. Ailing Ben White hopefully should be back from his COVID stint by then. Trent, I'm not going to have a problem with. Luke Shaw, I'm not going to have a problem with. So defensively, I don't have any issues. Antonio could be a problem, no doubt. Salah could be a problem for me. Sonny, you said, is not.
Doesn't look like it. I mean, he might be injured.
I
don't have any info.
Don't have any other concerns.
So I've got Antonio.
It's just
going to be an
Antonio
issue.
For me.
Salah. It looks like Mo Salah's going to be fine. I don't think it's going to be an issue, particularly as they play the Sunday as well. I've got Martinez. So obviously, if no Martinez, got no goalkeeper. But then do I look at that and go, well, they've got Chelsea away anyway. What's my expectations? Do I actually just go 10 players for the week?
Yeah.
If I want
for a goalkeeper, I wouldn't.
If I want to keep him long term, I mean, my thoughts always were with Emi Martinez personally that I know I'm playing a premium for a goalkeeper. Let me take Villa's first 3 fixtures and we'll judge it then, because it might be I need to find money and it's an easy find of 1 million if I need to do that. But yeah, you need to be careful of what's going on. You need to follow the news, quite honestly. And the main FPL resources and stuff will be, I mean, Scout did a really good article kind of highlighting all the people that are potentially going to be an issue. So they'll be all over it. There'll be plenty of others. I think Bowstring the Carp, I want to say, has got a Google Doc on his Twitter timeline with all the people that could be affected as well. So the information will be around. It's not going to be kept secret. What's interesting to follow in the next couple of days, I think, is if the Premier League say no exemptions, like are Tottenham going to say, for example, like Romero and Lascelles say you can't go, that kind of thing. My instinct has been in the build up to this that they'll get exemptions, but why should they?
No, I don't think they will. I don't think they will.
Money might talk though.
They might come out with something along the lines of, look, we'll get them super fast tested and proper tests and all that kind of jazz. But
would it be in the Premier League's interest to have all these players get through the exemptions and be able to play in their competition? And there might be something for the government.
Yeah, of course, but I don't see it happening.
I mean, we're not talking about that publicly. We're just suggesting a rumour, maybe.
Look, let's wait and see. It wouldn't surprise me. I don't think there should be an exception deal with it. Like, the rules are the rules for a reason. Arsenal already, we've seen, have got a problem with the COVID outbreak. We don't want to see it at other clubs.
Well, Arsenal have had issues. Newcastle have had issues. Norwich have had issues. I read in the piece written by Martin Samuel, who works for the Daily Mail, who said that Arteta actually believed that their game at Brentford should have been called off, reportedly. Now, they only had 4 COVID cases. The rulings, you've got to have 14 fit players, isn't it? So
I don't know.
However, that was going to wash. But I think there's been 16 positive cases in the last round of testing. I mean, it's about 3,000 tests.
Okay.
So 1% or something like that. But it's not 0%, is it?
No.
So I think clubs have still got to be cautious. There is these people going all round the internationals and stuff. This coming back can cause problems from anywhere, right? Yeah, early transfer. Mind you, we never get the fucking COVID information on who's got it or who hasn't.
No,
anyway,
they keep it under wraps, unfortunately. It'll be interesting to follow this story over the next few days.
Absolutely.
Not making any decisions around it, and the only transfer I was looking at this week is not going to be affected by either in terms of Luka Dean.
It's also not to say like, don't buy Benrahma or don't buy Antonio. Like, if you want, of course, but you have to be conscious that there is potentially a game week 4 problem, but it could even become a game week 5 problem.
Yeah.
If anybody really does go and play in these South American games and doesn't get the exemption, it is highly likely they will miss game in week 5 as well as game week 4.
Yeah.
So you need to be very cautious of that. So, I mean, if I'm missing Emi Martinez for two weeks, he's probably going, isn't he? I'm probably not suffering that for 2 weeks. Right, let's talk about West Ham a little bit, Suj. How you feeling?
Shall we?
Yeah, let's do it.
We're going to add it into Cheeky People's poll. But I'd saved up all my thoughts for tomorrow's West Ham. Tottenham.
You're top of the league, mate. Reveling it.
I was trying to explain to my missus as we were driving back yesterday how I felt. And I was like, it's absolutely impossible for you to understand. And it's not even about being top of the league, because let's be real, it's 2 games in. But it's 2 games where we scored 8 goals, won both comfortably. And last night for me was a worry, a concern going to the game after such a good season without the fans coming back in. I just wanted to see a performance like that we could get behind and support. And from minute 1, I didn't feel like we were going to lose the game yesterday. We just controlled it so well. Quicker to the ball. Leicester didn't have anything in midfield to control the game. And I was trying to explain to my, I was like, the thing is, I've been here so many times and seen so much shit. Like the number of times this club has disappointed me, lack of effort from the players, losing leads that we shouldn't, pathetically just rolling over, disappointment with the owners. Like I've seen it all. We've been so shit, but everything is completely different now. It's like proud of the players in terms of hard work. You can get behind them. They work for 90 minutes regardless. They all put in a shift. There's been a change this season in the way we're playing now all of a sudden. I want to call us Geometric FC because everything seems to be triangles. The way we're passing is all triangles and diagonals now, which we didn't do last year. Like we're playing more with the ball than we did last season.
I'm definitely going to call you that if you get beat.
Geometric FC. I'm just like, look, what I'm seeing on the pitch is 100% been worked on the training ground because they couldn't change the way they're playing a little bit and passing without work. So you've got to respect the manager. The results are there. The players look like they're enjoying themselves and are engaging with the fans. Vice versa, the fans are getting behind the team. And it's not fluke. Like it's the result of things being done well on the training ground, good recruitment. I mean, owners will still get grief for not buying players, but regardless, they haven't done anything good, but they also haven't done anything bad recently. And so it all culminates in actually, you know what? Like we are going to cause some teams some problems this season. From what I've seen in the first 2 games, I talked about after Newcastle, the diagonal cross-field balls, picking them around a lot yesterday, and I was just so impressed from minute 1. Agreed, like okay, we played them for 10 men for 55 minutes or whatever. Wouldn't have made a difference. Wouldn't have made a difference yesterday. We would have still.
Difficult to say. You don't know if at half-time things change with 11 and stuff like that at 1-0.
Like.
But you certainly deserve to be ahead, no doubt about it.
Yeah, and when we let in that sloppy goal with Tielemans, there was 5 minutes of, don't do this to me. But we went on and scored 2 more and dominant and controlled the game again. If you want to be nitpicky, look, that's now clean sheet in 15.
Another game without a clean sheet. Yeah.
That's 1 clean sheet in 15. And it's annoying to be sloppy like that, but do you know what? I think they'll look at it and they'll sort themselves out. But everything about it is like, okay, I've been through so much grief. I'm enjoying this moment, 100%. Got a Big Mac on the way home. Mrs. went upstairs to sleep. I was like, I'm going to sit, enjoy my Big Mac, and watch Antonio's interview.
I'm guessing this one's more for the patrons from something in our Q&A yesterday, but I'm guessing the kids had lots of sweets.
No, pick a mix. Hallelujah.
Really?
I'm assuming because of COVID, they don't want everyone coughing, spluttering all over. Like, sweets is not really a good
You've
thing.
stitched the kids up, haven't you?
That's right. They had a hot chocolate at half time. And they were good as gold as well. Like, they got engaged in the game quite a bit, more than they have previously. But yeah, it was, all in all, it was just like a everything coming together type situation where it felt like there's a club that you can be proud of and want to support. And what we saw on the pitch was good as well. I mean, you got to watch the game late enough.
Yeah, Suj messaged me and he said, red card question, and I was recording the game.
Yeah.
I was going to watch it later on. I was like, yeah, thanks. Like, I know there's a red card now after about 35
it could have been
minutes.
a not red card.
I guess.
Yeah,
but I was ready for something to happen, wasn't I?
Yeah.
And of course, it had to be. Nobody has ever tipped up a Jose Perez in the last 18 months or so since he went to Leicester as an FPL asset.
And I've gone, pick.
Do you know what? If you want a 1 weeker for game week 3, someone messaged me last night and went, I bought a Jose Perez, and I messaged them back and said, please tell me you're joking. And they haven't responded, so I don't know if they were being serious.
Mate. Yeah.
Obviously, don't buy Jose Perez, he'll be suspended.
We didn't see the replay inside the...
They showed it on the screen.
They showed it once. They only showed it once, and it was hard to kind of see what happened because he was stumbling.
Have you seen it back?
Yeah.
It's definitely a red card, mate. No doubt about it.
But we only saw the one replay, and it was like as if he was stumbling, so we couldn't really see it clearly. And then that was it done. He was red carded and off. And
I think there was a little bit that I think they didn't say it last night, but I think he stumbled. And I'm not excusing what happened. It's bad because he does it like he looks at the player coming. But I think there was I want to think good of him that he was trying to toe the ball.
Yeah.
So you see that sometimes where people kind of step over to get their body, and it wasn't like that. Yeah. He went so far through, I wondered if he was just trying to toe the ball away. But then he also would have been towing it towards his own goal, which would have been very, very dangerous, as you haven't got any control when you're towing the ball like that. It was horrendous. Quite how Michael Oliver didn't deem that as a free kick in the first instance. Yeah, I'm not sure because he had a pretty good view of it. But
come away injured.
That's where... Yes, absolutely. That's where VAR, I'm on board with it. It's perfect. It's a definite red card. It's not debatable. Schmeichel and Rodgers can come up with whatever excuses they want. That is a red card every day.
Leicester should have played Iheanacho because he's caused us problems previously. And in the last few games where Leicester have done well against us, Iheanacho's been quite decent. They should have played Iheanacho, I think. Hindsight's easy, and they should have played more down the right. Like everything was down the left, and
a lot of that's to open up space for Pereira. And he did have the one chance at 1-0, didn't he?
But other than that, I mean, Soufal did a job on Harvey Barnes, and they weren't getting much joy down the left. And
to be honest, whoever really does a job on Soufal,
he's growing.
I've got Harvey Barnes in my team. It was never with the thoughts of he's going to tear West Ham apart.
No,
to be honest, it was more about game week 1 and 3.
And
I think what happened, I don't mean to... You can defend Leicester for what happened because, again, they played a very good side. That's your strongest team. If you had that team for 38 games, there's every chance you'd finish 5th and push for 4th.
Yeah.
You probably won't, in fairness.
Agreed.
And squad depth may be an issue. I think that after we recorded, I saw that Vestergaard was ruled out, and I thought, there is no way Leicester are keeping the clean sheet tonight. And to be honest, the first thing I thought is you will murder them on set pieces. And I don't know how you didn't score. I don't know how you didn't score from one last night.
With my sons, it was like every time we had a corner, it was like, we're going to score from the corner. Then it was like, all right, second time lucky, boys. Third time lucky. We got to like 8th time lucky, 9th time lucky, because we had so many corners, so many chances. But the goals came from build-up play. We still have...
From Kaglos Yunchu.
Yeah, he was a bit ropey. But the build-up play, in terms of the way that the team are playing right now, I think is going to take a couple of weeks for a few teams to figure it out. Like, I fully expect us to beat Crystal Palace on Saturday properly, like 3 or 4. If we play like we did last night, we will comfortably beat Crystal Palace. And I've never felt optimistic in this way before.
Will you though? Because it's different patterns. So what impressed me most about you last night was, obviously there was in the period where Leicester had 11 men, the clear strategy was to stop passing lines. So Leicester had a weak link at the back, and I know Andy Hinchcliffe mentioned it on commentaries about, oh my God, Syuncu and Amati have had so many touches at the back. Yeah, that's because they can't pass the ball forward. They can only go side to side because Fornals obviously played. He basically played as a centre forward. He basically played 4-4-2 in that period where they had 11.
Out to the left.
Ben Marmer out to the left, and it was all about that pass into Ndidi. Tielemans is not going to happen. If you have to go long into Vardy, we actually fancy it. And it's actually Vardy coming short, gave the ball away. The turnover is actually what led to the first goal. What impressed me most, though, was after the red card, you went from great counter-attacking strategy to we are going to dominate you. And I thought that was really impressive because
kept the ball really well.
To switch the mindset from counter-attacking, then to be winning, and then dominate when you're winning is quite tough. actually. And you're playing a good side. I know they're a man short, but they're a good team, right? They're not
They are.
They're not Mickey Mouse. And I just thought everything about the way you played, intensity-wise, was so spot on. You have every right to feel very, very pleased with that this morning.
And I was just trying to explain to my wife, like, it's not we've won a game of football. It's not that.
It's the manner of the victory.
It's like I have a trust in my team now. Like, I've never go to London Stadium thinking we're going to win today. But Palace on the weekend, if we do what we did in the first 2 games, we'll score 3 or 4.
Different challenge though, isn't it? You know, they'll probably sit off it a bit more. And in the likes of Anderson and Gahey, they'll deal with the aerial a lot better than Leicester would have yesterday.
Yeah. But then, and Antonio, to be honest, scored 2 and an assist. He could have had more yesterday. He was causing them trouble all game long. So
is he now the best option for captaincy this weekend? We know it was kind of in the vote. I think I'm probably the reason I'm probably going with it now is I think a lot of other people will.
Yeah.
And all those points he got me last night didn't actually do me any. I actually dropped rank last night.
You know how people will ask me questions about West Ham and you questions about Spurs and stuff, and generally we're quite cautious. You know, like, take the advice with a pinch of salt. And people are saying, is it crazy to triple captain Antonio? Can I still buy Ben Rama? I can't say no to people.
I can. Wait for the COVID rules.
yeah, of course. But generally, like, that aside, I can't say no, don't buy Ben Rama because he's playing well. I can't say no, don't go TC on Antonio because he's banging form and the team around him are playing well and are playing really well. So I can't say no because I don't have any kind of cautious evidence on it. 2 wins, 8 goals, very good football, controlling the game, defensively stupid. Not leaky, but stupid. Like, stupid goals getting in. I can't say no. I can't advise against it. So yeah, happy, very happy.
Yeah, I might be going that way.
Antonio, captain on the weekend.
I might be.
He's
going to let us all down,
but
then it'd be everybody in it together. I just think it's interesting that this was always going to be the punt week that we'd highlighted.
Yeah.
And yet now that the punt week's coming round, someone who probably wouldn't have been under consideration for the majority, probably by the time it comes around, is going to be extremely popular.
Yeah.
Because a lot of engaged players are going to captain him. A lot of non-engaged players are also going to captain him. I mean, what's he got? Has he got 30 points? What's he got?
18 and 12, yeah. 18 and 12. 30
I mean,
points.
him and Ben Ram, how many points have got between them?
It's
staggering.
Too many. Yeah, shout out to Sham, who was sitting behind me yesterday. I told you, Ben Rama. Been bigging him up for weeks. Listen, Ben Rama was a risk for people. Yeah, anyone that went Ben Rama, he was a punty pick at the start of the season.
Yeah, I'd like to say on correspondent week, I was both to him and Chris Stone, our West Ham correspondent. Come on, it's second season. It's going off for him, isn't it? And
it could go.
These two weren't very convinced about that.
It could go off for him.
To be fair, I didn't fucking buy the bastard either, right? So
look, it's all working well right now. So I'm just waiting for the wheels to come off. But whilst it carries on, I can easily see us beating Crystal Palace and Southampton. We should be beating both of those 2 teams. If we've got any ambitions of consistency and taking it on from last season, we've got to beat both those 2. So
we've got Palace and Watford in our next 2.
Before we play each other? No.
No, we don't play each other for a while.
We play each other on the 24th we could, after my birthday.
We could go into game week 5 as the top 2, mate.
Oh, the joy that Chelsea.
And still, come May, we'll both be fighting out for Thursday night football, no doubt about it.
Tell me about it. Yes, indeed. Any thoughts to go to the away end at West Ham?
I might go, yeah.
24th, so that's 2 days after my birthday. It's a
Sunday.
Go.
It's a Sunday, isn't it?
Sunday, 2:00. So if you
obviously it's a Sunday. We've got Thursday night football.
Yes.
Yes, I may well go to West Ham this year.
Let's see. Thank you for tuning in. I hope we were able to give you a little bit of advice. Stay tuned as James may tweet out any links if any other articles become clearer on what is going to be happening with COVID. We have Sky Fantasy Football coming at you tomorrow, where I have to question why I'm beating James, but also then why his second team is beating both of us rather than his first team. So we'll be running through all of the Sky Fantasy Football questions and dilemmas tomorrow. A little bit of forward planning for Overhaul, followed by Thursday is Clash of the Correspondents. Who do you have on with you this week? Johnny Pringle and Adam. 350.
Man City versus Arsenal. We'll be talking about Cristiano Ronaldo's imminent move to Manchester City.
Nice. And also, if you don't mind asking Adam about Sol Campbell's impending appointment as Arsenal manager as well. Shout out to you all. Stay safe wherever you are, and appreciate the support. Ciao for now.
Thanks, everyone. Be nice to each other. Cue music, please, man child.